Soren Kale had learned to live with it, flying cargo runs between outer system ports. He liked the solitude. Liked knowing that no one expected more of him than to deliver crates of medical supplies or mineral samples. Nothing more. After the war, after the loss of his crew and the guilt he refused to acknowledge, it was enough. The station he just left, Arba 9, had been nearly empty. A skeleton crew. Just the way he liked it. He hadn't spoken to another soul in 4 days. He didn't need to. The ship responded to voice commands, and even those were rare. But the silence was broken 2 hours into his journey when the motion sensor in the cargo hold pinged. A soft ping. One that shouldn't have happened. Soren swore under his breath and locked the cockpit door. He activated the ship's internal monitors. At first, the screen showed only shadows between crates, then, movement. Something shifted behind a sealed container. Something, or someone, was hiding. He armed his sidearm and moved through the dim corridors toward the hold. Every footstep echoed louder than it should have. As he turned the corner, a faint, high-pitched whimper came from the dark. "Identify yourself," he said, his voice low but commanding. No answer. Only the sound of breathing. Soft. Afraid. He stepped closer. Then he saw her. Tucked between 2 crates, curled into a trembling ball, was a figure unlike anything Soren had seen up close. She was clearly alien. Not like the insectoids from war propaganda, not like the diplomats from the peace accords. She had delicate, semi-luminescent skin that shifted between shades of dusk and lavender. Her hair, or what resembled hair, glowed faintly, like algae stirred in moonlit waters. And her eyes, they weren't human, but they were wide and terrified. She clutched her side, blue-green liquid seeping between her fingers. She was injured. "You're hurt," Soren said, slowly lowering his weapon. She flinched. He cursed again, himself this time, for not carrying a translator module. It was in the cockpit, charging. Stupid mistake. "Can you understand me?" he asked. Her eyes never left his. He knelt slowly, placing his sidearm on the floor and pushing it away. "I won't hurt you," he said, unsure why he was saying it. Maybe for her. Maybe for himself. She didn't respond. But she didn't run either. He took a risk and reached toward her. She tensed, but didn't move. Gently, he lifted her hand away from the wound. The sight made his stomach turn. A plasma burn. Bad. Deep enough to expose soft tissue. Alien, yes, but pain was universal. She was bleeding out. And she had stowed away on his ship, maybe the only place that wouldn't have shot her on sight. Soren retrieved his medkit. He didn't know her anatomy, didn't know what drugs might kill instead of heal, but he could clean the wound. He could try. The whole time, she watched him. Not blinking. Not speaking. "I need to help you," he muttered, half to himself. He used saline spray first. Her breath hitched sharply, but she didn't pull away. The tissue reacted oddly, tightening under the mist. He applied a bandage, not the right one, but something. It would have to be enough. He wrapped her side with gauze and used a gel intended for radiation burns. She didn't scream, but a single tear rolled down her cheek. He didn't know if it was from pain or fear. Or both. When he finished, he sat back, breathing hard. She was still crouched, but not trembling as much now. "You don't talk, huh?" he asked softly. She looked at him for a long moment, then shook her head, slowly. Deliberately. Soren blinked. She understood him. "You understand, but you can't speak." A nod. "Okay," he whispered. "We'll figure something out." He stood and retrieved a small bottle of water. Offered it to her. She hesitated, then took it with both hands, careful not to touch him. You're safe here, he said. I won't report you. I won't hurt you. She tilted her head. Eyes still wide. Uncertain. But something in her shoulders eased. As Soren returned to the cockpit, he checked their trajectory. His original route went through the neutral zone. A mining colony on that route had a medical research facility. He could make a stop. No one would ask too many questions. He glanced back toward the corridor. She hadn't followed. But she was watching. Silent. Observant. The silence returned, but it wasn't the same. For the first time in years, it felt shared. And in that quiet, something small and strange began to form. Not peace. Not yet. But possibility. It simply was. Vast, cold, and endlessly indifferent. Kezia Rin had learned to find beauty in that truth. As a linguistic analyst on the independent research vessel Asterion, she found meaning in the edges of language, the places where cultures brushed against each other and either connected or collided. Asterion had no allegiance. It belonged to a civilian coalition committed to diplomacy and science. The kind of place where knowledge was currency and neutrality a shield. That neutrality had kept them safe during the early years of the interspecies conflict. But things were changing. Rin, prep for intake, Captain Holland's voice came through her comms. We've got an unscheduled dock. Private transport, distress beacon flagged humanitarian. Apparently there's a situation. Understood, she replied, standing from her console. Her desk was cluttered with lexicon fragments, old imperial Entori glyphs, phonetic reconstructions of Vari trade dialects. She swept them aside. As she made her way to the intake bay, she scrolled through the preliminary report, human pilot named Soren Kale. Formerly with Outer Fleet. Now independent cargo runner. No criminal record. Medical urgency. Unknown alien passenger. Nonverbal. Unregistered species. Possible plasma injury. Kezia frowned. Unregistered species. Not possible, she thought. The known galaxy had been meticulously catalogued in the last century. Even isolated species had at least a reference tag. For someone to arrive without a data trace, especially with a human protector, was unprecedented. By the time she reached the medbay airlock, the atmosphere had shifted. Doctors stood back, whispering in hushed tones as a lean man stepped out, supporting a fragile, luminous figure. The alien woman's skin shimmered under the artificial lights, a strange mix of deep violet and soft pearl. She was wrapped in a thermal blanket, her side tightly bandaged. Her eyes, enormous and unblinking, never left Soren's face. He, in turn, looked grim but steady. Protective. Defensive, Kezia noted. They were a unit already. I'm Kezia Rin, she introduced herself calmly. Linguistic analysis and first contact protocol, she kept her voice gentle. You're safe here. Soren's gaze met hers, wary but not hostile. She doesn't talk. At least, not in a way we understand. Kezia studied the alien woman closely. The way she watched everything. How her pupils dilated slightly at sound. Her hands twitched when voices grew too loud. Not unwilling, Kezia murmured, half to herself. Untrained. She hears us. She understands some. The alien woman blinked slowly, a gesture that struck Kezia as almost deliberate. She's learning, Kezia whispered. Fast. Can you talk to her? Soren asked. Kezia tilted her head. I can try. The next hours were filled with observation. The alien woman, who had no name the crew could yet pronounce, rested in a private medbay room, while Kezia set up her portable translation interface. She input every sound the woman had made, no matter how soft, whistles, hums, throat clicks, the glottal pauses between gestures. The database cross-referenced with known species dialects. Nothing matched. "You're not from our mapped sectors," Kezia said softly, watching the woman's reaction. Her expression didn't change, but her fingers flexed slightly, like a silent reply. Soren stayed nearby the whole time, refusing to leave even when the doctors asked him to rest. Kezia didn't press the issue. His presence seemed to calm the woman, and when he wasn't there, she tensed visibly. During one particularly long silence, Kezia sat down beside her. "Do you have a name?" she asked. The woman looked at her. Then pointed, hesitantly, to herself. Kezia took a tablet and drew a symbol, a swirl, like a spiral nebula. The woman stared at it, then responded with a whisper. Not speech exactly, but a sound. A pattern. Kezia recorded it and replicated the sound. The woman nodded. A breakthrough. Leo, Kezia guessed. The woman, Leo, now, clicked her fingers in affirmation. Soren, half dozing in the corner, perked up. Leo. She turned to him, and for the first time, smiled. Small, faint. But there. Leo, she whispered. Her first human word. Day by day, progress came. Leo learned a few basic words: water. Pain. Yes. Safe. But language wasn't just vocabulary, it was connection. Kezia began introducing her to symbols, drawing associations between words and images. Leo absorbed them like light. On the fifth day, Kezia handed Leo a simple sentence. I am not alone. Leo stared at it. Then slowly, with great care, tapped each word with her finger and mimicked the sounds. I am not alone. Soren exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for days. You did it. Kezia shook her head. She did it. That night, after Leo was asleep, Soren pulled Kezia aside in the observation chamber. You've been good to her, he said quietly. Kezia glanced at him, folding her arms. You were first. She trusts you. I'm just building on what's already there. Still, he said. Thank you. There was something in his eyes. Weariness. Vulnerability. The armor of a man who'd seen too much but didn't know how to stop caring. You didn't have to help her, Kezia said. But you did. Soren looked away. It didn't feel like a choice. Silence again. Not awkward. Just full of unspoken things. In her quarters later, Kezia reviewed her recordings. The way Leo touched symbols. How she reacted to tone shifts in voice. The way she watched Soren, not with fear anymore, but something gentler. Closer to wonder. Kezia closed her tablet. Rubbed her eyes. You're falling for her, she murmured aloud. Not to herself. Not about herself. About Soren. But maybe. No. Not yet. Weeks passed. Leo's vocabulary expanded. She began using full sentences. Short. Clipped. But clear. I trust you, she told Kezia one morning. Kezia almost cried. Thank you, Leo. That means everything. Leo looked at her, expression unreadable. You trust me? Kezia hesitated, then nodded. I do. Leo looked down. But, I am not like you. You don't have to be, Kezia said gently. Trust doesn't require sameness. Leo looked out the window at the stars. I am from nowhere, you know. My world is gone. Gone before your maps. Before your wars. Kezia's breath caught. We lived in water and air. We didn't fight. Not until they came. They took our oceans. Our sky. I hid. Who? Kezia asked. Leo closed her eyes. Not humans. Not my kind. Others. And you escaped. A nod. I ran. Always ran. Until, him. Soren. Kezia smiled softly. He saved you. No, Leo said. He saw me. That night, Leo stood at the viewing deck beside Kezia. The stars reflected off her skin like a living nebula. I am afraid, she whispered. Kezia turned toward her. Of what? If they take me, Leo said. If they separate me from him. They won't, Kezia promised. I'll speak for you. I swear it. Leo turned to her. Why? Kezia swallowed. Because I know what it's like to have no one speak your language. To be unheard. She didn't add, because I see you too. And maybe, I love what I see. She didn't say it. Not yet. Leo reached out, placing a glowing hand over Kezia's heart. You speak with this, she said simply. Kezia touched her hand. So do you. 1 week later, a delegation from the Interspecies Accord arrived on Esterion. Officials. Scanners. Judges. They didn't smile. Leo was quarantined. Soren was interrogated. Kezia was barred from direct contact. But she didn't stop fighting. She spent days compiling linguistic data, behavioral logs, emotional mapping. She testified in every hearing. She told them how Leo had learned language, had shared memories, had expressed empathy. They didn't listen. So Kezia broke protocol. She hacked the internal display during the final hearing and played a video. Not a speech. Just a moment. Leo, teaching Soren how to say her name properly. Her laugh when he got it wrong. The way she held his face afterward. Gentle. Reverent. A moment no translator could fake. Love, Kezia thought. And everyone in that room saw it. Afterward, she found Leo alone in the observation deck again, watching a binary star system spin in silence. They're letting you stay, Kezia said. For now. Under humanitarian protection. Full rights pending diplomatic review. Leo said nothing. Kezia sat beside her. After a while, Leo said quietly, You fought for me. Kezia nodded. It was the only choice. Leo turned to her, and for the first time since they'd met, she reached for Kezia's face, not just as thanks, but something deeper. Your words changed me, she said. Kezia covered Leo's hand with her own. Your silence changed me. Their eyes met. And in the quiet, something bloomed that neither war nor science could numb. It only asked what you were willing to plant. On any given day, Theo Malrin could be found with his hands in synthetic dirt, coaxing growth from dry roots. He was a terraformation botanist, not glamorous, not political, but essential. He wasn't on the front lines of interstellar negotiation or conflict resolution. He was on Shea 4, a semi-habitable moon on the fringe of the neutral systems. His job was to make things live where nothing wanted to. And he liked it that way. Until she arrived. Leo. He didn't know her name at first. Only that she was alien. Wounded. Escorted under medical asylum protocols with 2 personnel, 1 stoic translator and 1 quiet human pilot who hovered protectively nearby. She needs a place to rest, somewhere low stimulation, the translator said. Her name was Kezia Rin, Theo remembered. Soft-voiced, but precise. And, space to breathe. His greenhouse dome was quiet. Isolated. Filled with warmth and chlorophyll and clean oxygen. Theo didn't say much as he nodded and led them in. Theo wasn't good with people. He preferred plants. They didn't require social cues or performative empathy. They wilted when neglected and bloomed when tended. Honest, simple things. But Leo wasn't a plant. And yet, there was something in her that mirrored his seedlings. Tentative. Tender. Needing care, but not pity. She walked slowly into the dome, wrapped in soft fabric. Her skin shimmered under the filtered light. She touched the leaves of a flowering vine and paused, fingertips trembling. "These are alive," she said. Her voice startled him. Soft. Accented. But clear. "Yes," he replied. She turned to him. "Thank you." Then she sat among the roots and said no more. They gave her quarters nearby, but she returned to the dome every day. Theo worked in silence, as he always had, but now he wasn't alone. Leo wandered through the aisles, studying each plant like it was a mystery to be solved. Sometimes she asked questions. Sometimes she just sat cross-legged beside a moss bed, eyes closed, as if listening to something he couldn't hear. At first, he wasn't sure how to respond. Then, one morning, she brought him a broken pot. "I dropped this," she said, not meeting his gaze. He took it, examined it, and nodded. "We can fix it." She looked up, surprised. "Not throw away. Not if it can hold something again." That was the first time she smiled at him. In the following weeks, a quiet rhythm settled between them. Leo helped him water the seedlings. She asked the names of the plants, he told her in halting words, sometimes scribbling in dirt or using gesture. She began labeling them in her own language too, syllables sung softly into the air as she traced sigils on plant tags. He learned her favorite was a vine called Solar Trail. Long tendrils with bioluminescent petals that bloomed under moonlight. "Like home," she whispered once. Theo had no idea what her home looked like. And she never described it. But sometimes he'd catch her tracing circles in the soil. Spirals, concentric and fluid. A memory, maybe. A language. One afternoon, as he was adjusting nutrient levels on a root pod, she sat beside him. "You grow things," she said. "Things that should not grow here." "That's the job," he said, not looking at her. "Why do you do it?" He paused. Wiped sweat from his brow. "Because I couldn't save anything during the war." She didn't move. Didn't speak. So he kept going. "I was stationed on Navari 12, medical base. I ran the triage greenhouse, used botanical treatments for wound care. The last week before it fell, we lost power. Heat. Water. I watched everything die. Plants. People." His hands stilled. "When the evac shuttles came, I didn't go. I stayed with the last growth tray, trying to save 3 seedlings. Pointless, I know." "Did they live?" she asked. He looked at her. 2 did. Then not pointless. He met her eyes. They were deep violet now. Soft. Open. "You understand loss," he said. "Everyone does," she replied. "But not everyone grows from it." After that day, their silences became fuller. Shared, not separate. Leo began helping more. Replanting seedlings. Experimenting with growth light patterns. One evening, she brought a shard of something from her old world, some kind of organic crystal, pale blue and humming faintly. She planted it beside a moss bed and whispered something over it. He didn't ask what. 3 days later, new sprouts appeared, ones he hadn't planted. She grinned, triumphant. Some things travel well. During one quiet evening, as the moon outside rose into its silver arc, Leo sat beside Theo beneath the open skylight. He was trimming a brittle leaf stem, hands careful, movements measured. "Why do your hands not shake?" she asked. "They used to," he said. "What changed?" "I let them touch life again." She turned to him. "You don't look at me like others do." He didn't reply immediately. Then said, "How should I look at you?" "Like a stranger. Like a story. Not a person." You're not a story, he said. Then what am I? He looked at her. Really looked. At the way her glow pulsed subtly with breath. At the curve of her mouth, which humans might not call beautiful, but he did. Someone I see clearly, he said. Her breath hitched. That's dangerous. He nodded. I know. She leaned closer, voice barely a whisper. But maybe not wrong. They kissed under a skylight the next night. It wasn't urgent. Wasn't dramatic. Just inevitable. Like a vine reaching for sunlight. Afterward, she traced the lines on his palm. What do these mean? She asked. He chuckled. Nothing. Just skin. No, she said. They tell stories. Even if you don't read them. She turned his hand over, pressed her fingers to his wrist. Your pulse, she said. It changed when I kissed you. Yours did too. Yes. She looked up at him, and in her alien eyes he saw something deeply human. I was not meant to live, she whispered. Not after my world fell. Not after they hunted me. I was just, surviving. And now? I want to keep living, she said. Here. With you. But peace was never permanent. One morning, a patrol ship from the Alliance arrived at the terraforming base. Routine check, they said. Biosafety protocols. Theo knew the real reason. They were looking for her. Leo stayed hidden. Theo stood between her and the officers. We have reports of a bioforeign entity, one of them said, scanning the greenhouse. Nothing here but plants, Theo replied coolly. Your files say otherwise. Maybe your files are wrong. They found nothing. But they left with suspicion. Leo appeared after sunset, stepping quietly between ferns. They'll come again, she said. I know. I can't keep running. Then don't, Theo said. She looked at him. Stay, he whispered. We'll fight. Here. Together. The next morning, he filed a motion with the Alliance under the Sanctuary Clause, a little-used protocol allowing sentient alien beings to claim asylum under scientific protection. It had never been applied outside medical emergencies. Until now. Kezia Rin herself transmitted a letter in support. So did Soren Kale. The decision took a week. They were granted temporary protection under joint review. Leo cried when she heard. Theo held her, hands still and sure. You have a place now, he said. Not just a hiding spot. A home. Weeks passed. The garden bloomed. Leo created new hybrids, plants that shimmered like her skin, vines that sang when touched. She taught Theo how to listen, how to feel a plant's emotion, how to speak in resonance instead of speech. He taught her how to cook with moss root. How to prune a stubborn bulb. How to laugh again. They didn't say, I love you, right away. They said, I want to grow with you. I want to belong here. I see you. And that was enough. You hold it with both hands. You measure the weight. And when you cut, you do not flinch. Naira Thal had lived her entire life by this principle. Trained in the archives of Veruin, raised among the peacekeepers of her homeworld, and now a sentinel, one of the few neutral observers still respected by every major interstellar power. Her species, the Solani, were known for their logic, their diplomacy, their incorruptible objectivity. Naira had never failed a commission. Until now. It began with a transmission. Encrypted, direct, urgent. The message came from an oversight committee based in the neutral zone. Unsanctioned interspecies asylum event. Subject, Leo. Assigned parties, human pilot Soren Kale, linguist Kezia Rin, botanist Theo Malrin. Emotional interference suspected. Sentinels dispatched for observational integrity. Naira reviewed the preliminary footage on her way to Shea 4. She watched the grainy recordings, Leo tending the garden, smiling beside Theo. She studied the recorded testimony from Kezia and the flight log of Soren Kale. Emotional bonds. Irregular attachments. All signs of blurred boundaries. Unacceptable, she thought. Compassion is not a crime, but it must not cloud judgment. Her ship, the Valine's Edge, descended silently over the terraformed moon. The biodomes below shimmered in their artificial atmosphere. An ideal location for seclusion, for healing, or for defiance. She disembarked alone. Sentinels never arrived in groups. Theo Maurin met her at the station's boundary. "You're the sentinel?" he asked, stepping forward. She nodded. "Naira Thal. Verification code Zeta-9 Thalith. You are Theo Maurin, civilian botanist, caretaker of subject Leo." His eyes narrowed slightly. "She's not a subject." "Your clarification is noted," she said evenly. "I require access to all relevant records and facilities." He hesitated for only a moment. "Then, follow me." The biodome was humid and vibrant. Naira took it in without comment, only noting the hybridized flora, the increased nutrient circulation, the faint harmonic resonance from unfamiliar plant life. Then she saw her. Leo. Alien. Luminous. Impossibly still. Her iridescent skin flickered slightly as she noticed the sentinel. Naira spoke first. "I am not here to harm you." Leo did not respond. She simply tilted her head, gaze unreadable. "I am here to assess whether your presence compromises peace." "Peace," Leo repeated, voice quiet. Naira turned slightly, surprised by the clarity of her speech. "Yes. Neutrality is fragile. Your presence challenges the boundaries." Leo stepped forward, slow and deliberate. "And what if the boundaries were wrong?" Naira blinked. Not the response she expected. Naira stayed for 3 days. She observed everything. Soren arrived the next morning via shuttle. Kezia joined on day 2, providing testimony and emotional evaluations. Leo was never alone. Theo. Soren. Kezia. One of them was always by her side, not in containment, not under guard, but as protectors. Companions. Naira documented the interactions, maintaining a stoic log. But it was Leo's behavior that disturbed her sense of order. She was not hostile. Not erratic. Not emotionally unstable. She was intelligent. Centered. Profoundly aware of the effect she had on the others. And when she spoke, it was with deliberate softness. "You study me," Leo said once, during a quiet moment by the skylight. "But you do not look." Naira turned toward her. "I see." "No," Leo replied. "You measure. But you do not feel." Sentinels are not permitted emotional engagement. "Why?" Naira paused. "Because it leads to failure." Leo tilted her head. "Or truth." Naira ended the conversation there. But the words followed her. On the 4th evening, Kezia Rin approached Naira in the outer corridor. "She's not manipulating anyone," she said firmly. "She's healing. And helping others heal. That's not for you to decide." "And who decides?" "A tribunal of people who've never met her." Naira said nothing. "You saw it," Kezia continued, softer now. "You've seen how she connects. Not with power. Not with persuasion. With presence." Naira's jaw tightened. "Emotional investment clouds policy. You are emotionally compromised. Aren't we all, if we're honest?" Naira stared at her. Kezia nodded once and left. That night, Naira returned to her ship and accessed the internal council link. She recorded her official recommendation. Subject Leo demonstrates high emotional intelligence and presents no evident threat. However, the depth of emotional entanglement with human caretakers introduces significant ethical ambiguity. Recommend extended observation under conditional neutrality. She almost ended the transmission there. But she paused. Then said softly, I am not impartial. She deleted the message. On the fifth day, Leo found her sitting alone near the outer ridge of the biodome. You avoid me now, Leo said, quiet but firm. You have guardians, Naira replied. You are not in danger. That's not what I meant. Naira didn't answer. Leo sat beside her, cross-legged in the moss. Your people taught you not to feel, Leo said. They taught me how to protect peace. By denying yourself. Naira looked away. Peace is delicate. It must be enforced through discipline. Structure. Leo leaned in slightly. You think emotion is weakness. It is. No, Leo said gently. It's what gives strength meaning. Naira felt something fracture inside her. Not a break. A shift. She looked at Leo, really looked. And saw not a case file or political liability. She saw someone who had survived annihilation. Who had chosen love, not vengeance. Who had risked everything just to live among those who saw her. Why are you here? Naira asked, not as a sentinel. Just a voice. Leo answered, simply, to be known. That night, Naira dreamed of the wars her people had witnessed. Not fought. Just watched. Catalogued. Archived. Neutrality had kept them alive. But it had also kept them apart. Can you preserve peace by denying connection? She wondered. The question haunted her. On day 7, word came from the Alliance Central Committee. Transfer Leo to orbital station for further study. Civilian companions to be dismissed. The message was unsigned. Standard. Inhuman. Naira stared at it for a long time. Then deleted it. That evening, she gathered Theo, Soren, Kezia, and Leo. The order was clear, Naira said. She must be removed. Silence. Leo stood tall. Unflinching. But I won't obey, Naira said. Stunned silence. You'd be charged with violation of neutrality, Theo said. Yes. Why? Leo asked. Naira turned to her. Because neutrality is not peace. It's absence. You showed me the difference. Kezia stepped forward. Then what now? I'll file a new report, Naira said. I'll tell the truth. Not the policy. Soren shook his head. They'll recall you. I know. Naira's voice didn't tremble. I've made my choice. On the last morning of her assignment, Naira found Leo waiting in the greenhouse. She stood in a patch of glowing moss, hands at her sides. Thank you, Leo said. For what? For choosing to see me. Naira nodded. What will you do now? Stay, Leo said. Plant. Grow. Belong. Naira hesitated. Then stepped closer. She reached up and touched Leo's shoulder, a Solani gesture of final kinship. May your roots hold, and your sky remain open. Leo placed her hand over Naira's heart. And may your silence finally bloom. They stood like that for a long time. Two species. No longer strangers. No longer neutral. A ripple through water. A resonance in air. A whisper shared only between kin who could hear the vibrational hum of their own biology. Humans couldn't pronounce it. So she had become Leo. Short. Soft. Almost like a sigh. She liked the name now. It had become hers. Not a remnant of what was taken, but a gift she had chosen to keep. The sky above Shea 4 pulsed lavender at dawn, filtered through synthetic atmospheric systems. She stood in the greenhouse dome barefoot, letting the dew kiss the soles of her feet. The plants, her plants, bent slightly as she passed, sensing her presence. They knew her now. Like the others. But she was still learning herself. A month had passed since Naira Thal had defied the alliance. A sentinel breaking her vow, not for political rebellion, but because she had looked Leo in the eyes and found something worth risking neutrality for. Truth, perhaps. Or the dangerous softness called connection. And now, Leo was at the center of it all. Again. The alliance wanted answers. Not about her past anymore. About her future. They're calling it the Leo Accord, Theo told her over breakfast in the dome. He had made her moss root tea again, bitter, earthy, but familiar now. The warmth of it settled in her hands, grounding. They want to use your story. How you came here. The healing. The cooperation. It's turning into a movement. Leo looked down at the steam rising from the cup. Am I just a symbol now? You've become more than yourself to some people, Theo admitted. But you don't have to let them write the story. She nodded slowly. I don't want to be a banner. Or a battle cry. He reached across the table and gently covered her hand with his. Then be something else. Something of your choosing. The meetings began that week. Delegates from the neutral zones. Alliance officials. Silani observers. Even off-world diplomats from the outer fringes, all arriving to speak with her. But most of them spoke about her. Can she advise our unity programs? Could we replicate her integration process? Is she willing to appear in a diplomatic campaign for interspecies harmony? No one asked if she was tired. No one asked what she feared. Only Soren, when he found her sitting alone under the greenhouse canopy that first night. You don't owe them anything, he said. They think I do, she replied softly. What do you think? She looked at him. He always asked that. What she thought. Never what she was worth to him. And that's how she knew. I think I need to find out who I am outside their gaze. Then go, he said, gently. We'll be here when you're ready to come back. Even if I don't, she asked, voice barely audible. He hesitated, but then nodded. Even if you don't. She left at first light. Not in secret, not with anger. With ceremony. Kezia gave her a comms device preloaded with language modules and updates. Naira offered her a data crystal with her full security clearance, in case of emergencies. Theo packed seed pods. Your favorites, he said. They like arid worlds best. And Soren kissed her forehead and whispered, you changed me. Even if the galaxy forgets you, I won't. Leo boarded a small solo vessel and set a course for the edge of mapped space, not toward her destroyed world, but beyond it. She wasn't seeking the past. She was trying to grow forward. She landed on a moon with no name. The environment was harsh, dry winds, red gold soil, fractured valleys that howled at night. But the gravity was gentle, and the sunsets were like fire falling into glass. She made a shelter. Planted her seed pods. Sang her old songs to the roots. And waited. She wasn't alone. There were local species, four-legged climbers that stared from the rocks, feathered creatures that whistled harmonies. But none came close for days. Until one evening, a child crept to the edge of her camp. It wasn't human. Not like her. But it was alive, curious, unafraid. She held out food. It took it. And thus began her new life. Not as Leo the refugee. Not as the face of interspecies peace. Just Leo, the one who stayed. A year passed. Her garden bloomed in the moon's wind-torn soil. She learned the local rhythms, when the ground pulsed with heat, when the rocks absorbed the cold. She documented it all. She sent reports back to Theo and Kezia, always ending with, "I am safe. I am growing." But never to Soren. Not until the day she saw a ship descending from the lavender sky, the outline familiar, the engine sound etched in her memory. He stepped out before the dust had even settled. "Your beacon still works," he said, sheepish. "I missed your voice." She stared at him for a long time. Then ran to him. Not as a lost woman reaching for safety. As a whole one, reaching for her equal. That night, they lay on the roof of her shelter, watching the unfamiliar stars. "I thought you'd stay in the spotlight," Soren said. "Lead the movement. Rewrite diplomacy." "I didn't survive to become someone's symbol," she whispered. "I survived to choose." He turned to her. "And you chose this?" She nodded. "I chose me. And now, if you want, I choose us." He took her hand. "I never stopped." In the years that followed, their outpost became a haven for wanderers. Species with no homes. Outcasts. Healers. Lost ones. They called it Duskstead. Because the sun there never fully rose. And never fully set. Leo taught the children how to sing to plants. Soren built communication towers and laughed more than he ever had. Sometimes Theo and Kezia visited, bringing supplies and stories and long embraces. And one day, Naira herself came, not as a sentinel, but as a friend. And when she saw Leo's growing garden, her posture softened. "You planted something new here," Naira said. "Yes," Leo replied. "What will you call it?" Leo looked at the new hybrid vine, silver-petaled, dusk-colored, rooted in impossible soil. "Hope," she said. And in the night, when Soren pulled her close and she felt his breath slow beside her, Leo finally understood. Love wasn't the thing you found in safety. It was the choice you made in the unknown. The leap you took, not because you needed someone to save you, but because you had learned how to save yourself.